Coming up in this episode of Behind the Sound.
It sounds like garbage.
Everybody sounds exactly the same.
It's like,
Yeah,
no.
It's going down, people gather around. Grab a mic, let's rap, it's behind the sound. It's going down, people gather around. Grab a mic, let's rap, it's behind the sound.
Welcome to this episode of Behind the Sound. I cannot tell you how excited I am for our next guest. Most of you know him. I have to tell them. Most of you might know him as the Chief Meteorologist on CTV. I know him as the guy who puts the jock in our jingnjoc. He is my homie, one of my best friends. So excited to have him on the show. Josh Classen, how are you, my brother?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I want to jump right into it.
I can't believe you went with the weather over jingnjoc.
I ended with jingnjoc.
Okay,
That's the strong.
End on a high note.
End on the one that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Honestly, I get surprised still being out in the street how often we get stopped. I'm like, what the fuck? What? And then I remember, I was like, oh God, Josh Classen. Again, here we gotta get another selfie with Josh Classen. God, it's
you love it.
I do love it.
We hand the phone over to you, and you, RJ, can you take this picture of me and these people?
Yes, I can. When we first met, of course, there were a few
it was like
event
17 years ago, 18 years ago.
Come on, really?
Well,
Yeah.
this is 20
You're right.
years for me in Edmonton this summer.
No, you're right. You're right.
And it would have been shortly after that.
Because we had worked together on a few different, or our paths had crossed on a few different event things. And then you were the MC at the opening of our first office in St. Albert 14 years ago. And I'm going to be real with you here. I heard that you could rap. And I was like, okay, that's cute.
Yeah.
Let's get the Weatherman. I like him, he's a cool dude. Let's ask him if he'll MC our thing.
People will remember our opening because the
that's
Weatherman came and rapped.
Exactly. You were still like Josh Classen, the famous celebrity to me now. Now you're nothing to me.
Oh, yeah.
But so somebody told me you could rap, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's cute. Let's get him. I like the dude. Let's get him in. Then you came into the studio, did your, excellent job of emceeing that you always do, always mind-blowing, supernatural, such a good flow, one of my favorite master of ceremonies, at any event. And then you rapped, and I was like, oh my fucking Lord, he can rap. And today are easily my top 5 all-time lyricists. I want you to know that.
Oh, thank you. Alongside yourself?
Not even close. Take us back
I know, and I wasted it all. I wasted it all.
On this successful career on
I could have
broadcast.
been huge.
You are huge, brother, in so many ways. So take us back to Wordsmith then. Like what? Wordsmiths?
Yeah,
Were you and your brother?
Wordsmiths was like the last sort of group that I was in. So when I was 16, would have been like 1992. We started
Shout out to the 90s.
Yeah, we started doing some shows. I had a couple buddies, the Nisleys, who one of them pretended to DJ and the other one kind of sort of
Pretended to DJ.
well, he would just press play on the
Knob toucher?
Yeah,
Knob
exactly.
toucher? Those are my favorite.
We didn't even have equipment like that. He would just press play. I don't even think we had CDs. He'd press play on the cassette just so that the beat would play.
It's like that meme you cut to the mixer, it's unplugged. It's
So we did like some shows at high school and like some summer festivals, and it's Lloydminster, so nobody wants to hear
Lloyd, baby,
some kid rapping.
Right.
But I loved it. Like when I bought Public Enemy: Fear of a Black Planet, when that came out, I went to the Record Hound at Lloyd Mall and I bought that cassette, and it changed my life. And that was, I never bought anything but rap albums after that.
Is that when you started rapping then? Like what preceded that first thing at 16?
Shortly thereafter. So a buddy of mine, Marcus Lopez, his dad owned the nightclub in Lloyd. And so the DJ would always give him records, and we'd listen to the Fat Boys and Beastie Boys and whatever else. Yeah. And so we would listen to that and sort of write little raps. I was always a writer. I always liked writing poetry and short stories, and I wrote a book when I was like 12. It wasn't very good, but so it just, writing came naturally to me. Musically, I don't think I'm all that musically inclined, but lyrically, I know how to put things together.
Yeah.
So when I went to Nate, I rented studio time with Bill, whatever his name is, and he, made some beats for me. And I mean, I was not great at that time, but worked on it a little bit more. I don't know. Do you know Sherwin Payne?
I do.
Yeah. So we rented studio time at Sherwin's basement out in Sherwood Park.
Sick.
And he had a great studio and recorded on reels back in the day. And then I met up with a guy when I was working in Lloydminster. I met up with a guy whose dad owned an electronics shop in North Battleford, of all places. And Randy Kozlowski, he made beats like his beats were incredible.
Right.
Unbelievable. And he could play every instrument.
Right.
And so he would, instead of sampling, he would just knock something out on his bass guitar and sample it himself. And so we did a whole bunch of stuff with him.
In a time, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe we're dinosaurs and we're super old school for thinking like this, but that was a time when you were paying for studio time.
For sure.
When not everybody had a studio. I mean, you've got a studio, your kids are recording, and you've got a home studio that's got great quality. You can invest in a studio.
Everybody can, for a minimal upfront investment.
There's so much prosumer stuff that's available now.
Yeah.
Whereas back then, there were a couple guys, maybe you knew that you could get into a studio and actually pay for their time and their skill set, right?
Yeah, and they knew how to mix things, and they had proper microphones.
And they could play an instrument or many instruments.
Exactly. So my brother and I worked with Randy a little bit. Mostly I would just drive out there and see him. And then he moved to Penticton, and we ended up recording one of my favorite songs of all time, Atmospheric Avenger.
Yes, that verse. That 46 bar verse is so fire.
It might be like 73 because it's always a weird number. It never ends on a proper placement.
Never. You certainly don't know how to write 16 or 24 or it's like 17 and a half.
Because I don't know music, right? Like I played piano when I was a kid.
You know music. That's an understatement.
But I don't know how to. I still struggle counting bars. I can write and I'm like, okay, well, that's where it should end. I don't know how many bars it is.
But if you're half a bar short, what can you do?
You just repeat the
last line.
Sometimes you have to, repetition is important. Sometimes you just repeat it for emphasis.
Especially if you're half a bar short. You just repeat that.
It was not a half a bar short. It was intentionally repeated.
Okay. I love you, bro.
It's I know. A bit of an inside joke. But yeah. And then I moved to Saskatoon and was working in Saskatoon. And all of a sudden the internet came around.
Yeah.
And so I was on like all the message boards posting lyrics. Do you remember those days?
I was never really a message board. No.
Oh man, there were some incredible writers on some of those boards.
Really?
And so we connected with like 3 other guys, Denzel and Hashim and Derek, who were Madison for President, Eternal Dragon, and Agent Orange. And we formed the Wordsmiths, which was initially the Worldwide Wordsmiths, and then we just shortened it to the Wordsmiths because Denzel and Hashim were in New York, and Derek was in Oklahoma, in Chickasha, Oklahoma.
Crazy.
Just outside of Oklahoma City.
Today, that's very easy. Mm-hmm. Back then, what was that collaboration like?
I had never met them. I didn't even know really what they looked like. Mm-hmm. Didn't really care. We talked on the phone a little bit, mostly just over AIM. You remember good old AOL Instant Messenger.
Yeah.
So we would, write lyrics back and forth over AIM.
Crazy.
And then we would all record in our own separate locations and upload it to the web. And Derek would take it down and piece it all together. And they all kind of made beats. And then the only time I ever actually met them in person, we did a show in Oklahoma City. And so I flew down to Chickasha and we recorded and hung out in his house.
That must have been so fun.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was
must
a
have been
great
blast.
week. Some great barbecue, some good stories, and we didn't open up for anybody big, but
Right.
we did a show in Oklahoma City. So
And it makes sense that you wrote poetry and books and everything leading into it, because you don't just jump in at 16 and have lyrics like that.
Right.
When did you know that that was something that you could do really well? Were there other people that heard or saw lyrics that said, man, this is really good? Or did you kind of
it was
instinctively?
on those message boards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You could get a lot of really good feedback on those message boards, and it's hard. I know you sometimes will say the same thing. I'll send you just the lyrics, and you're like, I don't know how does this sound?
Right. Right.
And so that was the difficulty, is that I do have sort of an awkward.
Most of the time I can get a pretty good sense of
Yeah.
what's happening in a verse if I'm just reading it.
Yeah.
But your flow is so distinctive and so unique
Right.
that I would never guess that, oh, that's the way he's going to rock that line, right? Like
Right.
it's so in and out of rhythms and patterns
Yeah.
that is very distinctively jock, which
Yeah.
is dope. Like that's one of my favorite things about you is your flow. So yeah, I need to hear it. It's like, yo, send me a voice note. What does this sound like?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Which, that's just the way I write.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I couldn't explain to someone else how to do it.
Right.
I would have a very difficult time trying to write a conventional ABB type rhyme scheme. So
what is that process like for you? Because everybody's got their own sort of writing style and way that they come about it. What is your process like if you're not really thinking about, straight, just flows through you?
yeah, all of the best ones just
100%.
come to you.
Yeah.
Flows just seem to come out of me. I don't have any talent. I just managed to put a paddle in the channel above the clouds. How did he do it? Without alchemy fluid, who was cruising at 2,000 feet altitude? It's right. Yeah, you just pull it out of the ether. So
It's a gift. It's a gift, brother. Is it more about the flow first, or are you kind of just like, is it the lyrics that you're thinking about, or is it a combination? You can't really explain it.
I can't explain
Yeah.
it. And I find it easier to write without a set beat.
Right.
Sometimes you listen to the beat over and over again, and it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whereas some of the best things, in my opinion, some of the best things I've written are just written to whatever beat in my head, and then somehow you magically find a beat that it fits on,
Right.
that
Right.
it works with. But prior, my 16-year-old son, he just wrote a song the other night, and he said the same thing. He's like, I don't even know. It just came to me.
Those are the ones, man.
Just like,
Yeah. The ones that flow out. So, and I said this in a post about a song that I posted, Bump That, from, 23 years ago or whatever
Yeah.
that was, that like I saw something on So You Think You Can Dance. I heard this beat. I'm like, oh, I would like flip from that like slower, hard hip hop beat to like a double time, a little bit faster, but in the double the tempo. So it's kind of the same tempo.
That's a great song.
It's a fret. Thank you, man. And like when I heard that, I was like, I want to fucking make that beat. I went down to the studio, made that beat, rocked the verse, recorded it in like a matter of 43 minutes or something
know.
and it still bangs today.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I saw that on Instagram and I was like, he's cutting me out. How come I didn't get asked to be on that?
Cutting you out 23 years ago. I don't even know where I would find the master audio for that. There's no way. It's on a broken drive somewhere.
The great thing is that I saw that and I was like, oh, he just did that today.
Thank you.
It didn't sound like it was from 23 years ago.
I appreciate that. The booth that I recorded that in was our old Castle Downs house basement booth.
Yeah.
The house that I grew up in that we converted the basement into a
Sometimes
studio.
the best.
The best. I'll never be able to recreate that sound. It had fucked up walls, like it was different shaped walls, had that wood grain panel, from the 70s and 80s on the basement that we painted over red. I had like felt draped from the
Yes,
ceiling,
yeah.
just really makeshift stuff. And it sounded so good. Yeah.
And it was better though. It was really great when you had to like do it yourself
100%.
instead of just, I'm going to go into some studio and I'm going to record vocals in the studio. There was something about that, which I think it's not unique to hip hop and rap, but there is a do-it-yourself aesthetic. I think that's part of the big appeal to me.
Having recorded in that period to like coming back to music now, what do you think has been the biggest change? Because of course, there's all these prosumer tools and all of these things that are available for people and the internet and YouTube. Back in our time, you were limited to the 100, 200 people that you were performing to.
Right.
If you could get that many people there, most local acts couldn't. If you were lucky to have an audience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think when I worked in Saskatoon, I did shows about once a month. There were a couple places that they had rap nights, and yeah, if you got 60 people in there,
you're lucky.
Yeah,
that's a nice crowd,
and everybody's mean mugging and
sure.
nobody.
Oh, there too, huh? Sounds like Edmonton. Yeah. Why's the rap crowd like that?
I don't know
why.
It's very it's the competitive aspect of it, I guess.
I mean, but
you hear somebody and you're like, oh, that's fresh, but no, I can't tell. I'm still better.
Right. It's a very ego, macho-driven style art form where even I think you and I are pretty nice guys, I would say, upstanding community members these days. But we still got a little bit of that in our lyrics. It's just like, you can't, don't try to touch this, bro. Right? Like, there's still got to be a little bit of that swagger, that puff your chest swag.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's now rap has gone in 7 million different directions, right? And so
I hate it. I can't stand it.
I
know you listen to new music.
Self-reflective and emo rap and all of that too. So
we're going to have to get you back and just to go through, you're going to show me some stuff that you're listening to, because I'm the worst for, I bang the same. I bang the same.
Tell them the Anderson .Paak story.
You tell him, you fucker. You tell him.
Anderson .Paak had been out. He was a thing for about 3 years. And RJ rolls past my house one day and he's like, hey, you ever heard of this?
Check out this new rapper I found.
New Anderson .Paak or... Yeah. We've all been listening to Anderson .Paak for like 3 years, RJ. He's not new. That song is 3 years old.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
It is great. I mean, he's one of the, in the last 5-10 years, one of the real shining lights, right?
100%. Yeah. Real artist that I could just, and he's a drummer. There's something about, I don't know what it is about drummers.
Yeah, I know.
That are so fucking, they're hard. They're so good.
There was a guy, he went by the name The Myriadist on the old rap boards. Yeah. And he was a drummer in a punk band. Yeah. But he wrote these incredible lyrics.
If anyone's going to understand pocket, you know what I mean? Like getting in the pocket and flow, like it's a drummer, you know?
Yeah.
But even not rap, I don't even like Phil Collins, you know what I mean? Like such a dope artist who, their original instrument is the drums. That's so cool. Yeah.
I like that you went to Phil Collins.
Yeah. One of my faves.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. I don't listen to anything.
Phil Collins, though?
I don't listen to Phil Collins.
What do you listen to? What are you listening to right now? What's bumping in the car?
Well, I was listening to EPMD on the drive over.
Yeah, you were.
So,
Yeah.
And you say I listen to new music, and I do listen to new music, but
more than me.
I don't listen to a lot of
new
music
in
the last year, I would say. I don't like the beats.
I don't like the flows. Mumble. Like, get the fuck out of here.
It all sounds the same.
It sounds like garbage.
Everybody sounds exactly the same.
It's one of my favorite memes where Snoop is making fun of the mumble rap. He's like, yeah, he's like, you know, the Migos had me in the studio trying to get me to talk about some like trying to get Snoop Dogg to bust that flow.
Yeah, no.
How old is Snoop now? 60s? Late 50s?
He's got to be 58.
Yeah, hip hop is getting old, man.
Well, imagine when Doggy Style or The Chronic dropped.
Right.
Imagine that decades later, that guy would be best friends with Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
And would be not just a gangster rapper.
Right.
But would be selling cornflakes.
Right.
And trying to buy the Ottawa Senators.
Right.
And it's crazy how far all of that came.
Snoop Dogg does everything, right? He's
yeah.
like one of those artists
He's a brand.
and the business
He's a brand.
mindset of not saying no to anything. Obviously, the investment's got to be there. The price has got to make sense for what you're paying for that brand of Snoop. But he does everything, you know? And he's not afraid to do that. What's your take on that? You
Skip the dishes.
You know, does he do skip the dishes?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I love the Martha connection though. I think that is one of the cutest and coolest friendships out there. What's your take on, you've obviously built a really well-known, excellent brand in our community here, being on air and being in broadcast. And you're known for doing certain things really well. You're one of the best MC, I'm not talking rap right now, MCs of events and doing the weather and keeping us well informed, but in a really natural and authentic way. And I mean, you're not doing skip the dishes deals. You know what I mean? You're not doing like like all of these things. So give us your take on how you've been able to build the brand that you have and what are the important things and tips of the trade to focus on.
I think you just don't say no. When I worked in Saskatoon, I did probably 300 events a year. I judged cat shows.
Yeah.
I don't like cats.
Yeah.
But I judged cat shows. And you just get better at it. I was not good when I started. I was not good at any of this craft when I first started, but you just do it over and over and over again. And, you know, for most people, you'll get better at it.
Right.
Not everybody can do it.
Right. You got to have something to begin with, though. You got to be decent. You don't get to do what you're doing without starting with a little bit of a skill set, right?
You might, yeah. But I've been lucky more than I'm good, I think, right? Like, my first job in Lloydminster, I was interning, and a week before my internship was supposed to be done, someone left the station. The person who was supposed to take the reporter job said, no, I'm actually going to be a camera person so that you can give Josh the job. So I got a job as a news reporter because someone left, a job opened.
Right.
If the timing hadn't been right for that,
right,
my internship would have ended. I would have been done. I couldn't get a job doing sports. I wanted to do sports. Couldn't get a job doing sports because they had sports people. And so they were like, do weather. It'll give you some on-camera experience. And then when Adam leaves, you can do sports. Then Adam left, and I didn't want to do sports because weather was fantastic.
Right.
I loved doing it. The job in Saskatoon, I applied for it, didn't get it. 3 months later, the job's open again. Turns out the woman that they had hired wrote fan mail to herself. This is pre-internet.
Wow.
Handwritten fan mail because she was concerned she wouldn't pass her probation.
Wow.
And then, which is one thing, but then denied it vehemently.
Oh my God.
And so,
how embarrassing.
So they let her go.
Yeah.
I did a commencement, not a commencement. What do you call that when you speak at the graduation?
I didn't graduate. I don't know.
So I had to speak to the graduating class at Paul Kane, and that's what I told him. I was like, don't write fan mail to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Good tip.
But so the job came open the second time. The second time, two people, well, only one person applied for the job, so they gave it to me because I was the only person that applied for the job. Turns out two people applied for the job, but the other person, Greyhound, lost their tape, and the tape didn't show up until a month after I had been hired already. And my boss was like, no offense, I would have hired her over you. Again, you would have been out. So I got lucky there. I got lucky going to Toronto. I turned that job down 3 times, and then eventually they convinced me to take that job. I got lucky there because I hated it there. And all of a sudden,
turned the job down 3 times. So they chased you for 3 times before you finally took it. I don't think that's luck.
RJ, they were going to pay me the same amount to live in Toronto as I was making in Saskatoon.
Right.
And I was like, listen,
Right.
I don't know exactly how much it costs in Toronto, but I know it's more than Saskatoon.
Right. Yeah.
You know, station GM called and he's like, listen, doors open sometimes, you walk through them.
Exactly.
And good things happen on the other side.
Exactly.
And sure enough, right? Like I was only there for 3 months and then this job in Edmonton came open, walked through this door, and it's been the best 20 years of my life.
You're being a little bit humble there because I think that you were prepared for those opportunities. So you were working on your craft. Those opportunities didn't just show up; they showed up, and you had to have the
my
courage
dad
to
used
walk
to
through
say
them.
when I played hockey, I was a goalie, and my dad used to say, you got to be lucky to be good and good to be lucky.
That's right. I like that.
Yeah, I don't
dope.
think he came up with it.
Yeah, no, that's really
But
good. I've
he
never
used to
heard
say
that
it
before.
all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Lucky to be good, good to be lucky.
That expression encapsulates something that I talk about all the time, which is really being prepared for those opportunities. So luck is one thing. Yes, it has to be on your side, but you also got to do the work. You can be lucky and be not ready, and that nothing will happen. So that's a great way of capturing the essence of that.
Thanks, Pops.
Yeah. Shout out to Pops.
So many smart jewels of wisdom from that man.
Yeah.
That I never wanted to hear when I was a teenager.
But
now
anything
I'm
else
like,
stick out?
Something had happened to me that I didn't really want to tell my parents about, and I was concerned. Eventually, I had to tell them, and I sat down with them, and I was, here's what happened. And he looked at me and he says, well, it's not the first time this has happened to somebody, but it better be the last time it happens to you. And I was like, right, yes, okay. Learn from that mistake instead of just yelling and screaming at me.
Right.
And telling me what an idiot I am.
Sure. Which is hard. I mean, you're much more even keeled than I am, but it's hard to, not get frustrated and worked up when your kids do something, my dad was the same way, is the same way. He just it took him a lot. He was always very patient, kind, fun-loving, the biggest joker of all of us, if you can imagine. Between my brother and I, my dad was the worst of all of us. And so it took a lot to get him to that level. But when he did, when it was
then
something bad and you knew you fucked up if my pops was mad,
Mm-hmm. That's funny because my kids say the same thing. They're like,
I can see that.
we know
Yeah.
when dad's mad,
Yeah.
it's bad.
Yeah. I could see that about you for sure. Yeah. Well, do you think that having to be on all the time with your career transfers into what you do? Like in life, do you feel like that you have to have this level of calm, cool, collected all the time that helps you sort of manage those
Try and get
levels?
above it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably. I remember being a kid and walking around and imagining that, okay, there's cameras on me. There's people watching.
Right.
You gotta do the right thing. You gotta listen.
As a kid.
None of us always did the right thing.
Right. Right. No.
But I remember that. And so which is why it doesn't bother me. It bothers my wife and my kids more when, people stop and ask for pictures and that sort of thing. It doesn't bother me at all.
Right.
Partly because, that's part of the job, but also because I've always just sort of, I can remember being 10, 11 years old and thinking, okay,
Yeah.
someday people are going to be watching you.
Right.
You gotta be, and then,
You knew that young, hey?
Well, I wanted to be famous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so I knew that, okay, this is what it would be like.
Yeah.
I don't think
You're famous.
People know who I am.
Everybody knows who you are. Everybody knows you. Everybody wants a
famous
piece
with
of Josh.
famous
Classen.
with a lowercase f.
No, not at all, man. And it takes a certain type of person to be gracious the way that you are about that.
Oh man, it's 30 seconds out of my day, but
Yeah. It's a huge
if a
deal
kid,
to
if
some.
a kid wants to say hi and take a picture, who am I to say no, right? Like,
I mean, I don't know what that's like, so I can't really give my 2 cents here. But I find it super annoying when it's like a Justin Bieber or a somebody, and maybe that's a whole other level of
that
privacy
is a
invasion.
completely different level.
Okay.
Completely different level.
Okay, but I
That
feel
would-
like if I was that famous, I could be a nicer fucking guy.
Yeah, I probably would be too.
I think you would be.
would be too.
I think
right?
you would be. Yeah.
You stay and you sign every autograph and you talk to.
Well, maybe not
everybody
every at
wants
that
to-
level of when there's thousands
everybody
of
wants
people
to
out.
talk to you, and
Yeah.
right. I mean, that's what everybody says. That's why everybody was so happy when Ricky Fowler finally won. You don't know who Ricky
No,
Fowler is?
I don't.
He's a golfer.
Okay.
Who was a superstar at a young age, and then in the last couple of years kind of fell off. And this year he just sort of got his game back together. So he won for the first time in a couple of years, just a month or two ago. But even when he was losing,
Yeah.
he would stay and sign every autograph,
Yeah.
shake every hand, and
Yeah.
say hi to everybody.
Goes with the
And that-
territory,
yeah,
right?
it goes
Like-
with the territory, but not everybody does it.
No.
But it's a valuable currency to have.
for sure.
And especially in the business I'm in, the last thing I want is to have a negative interaction with somebody who then walks away and tells 10 people,
Right.
what
Right.
jerk,
Right.
so.
That's how I will never look at Will Smith the same way. I knew that he was an asshole from day. Honestly, 100%.
You sound like my wife.
My brother opened, back in the day, MCV, DRP, Dope Rhyme Producer.
Yeah.
They had a rap group. My brother and his best friend Justin, a bunch of these Untouchable crew, B-boys and dancers. They opened up for the Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff
Right.
at the Butterdome. I was there in the front row cheering them on. It was the same night that Mike Tyson got knocked out for the first time. I was in the front row and the bouncers were talking about it. Pre-internet, I couldn't just check my phone and be like,
Right.
what the fuck?
Yeah.
Tyson got knocked out. So everybody was talking about it when they heard. Anyways, and they had an opportunity to meet the Prince. He was a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
He was a jerk.
Yeah.
And that's to like people you're sharing the stage. It's not even like an onslaught of fans that you're like rushing and
Yes.
being,
Yeah.
you're like sharing the stage with these young,
Yeah.
up and coming,
They're
high
not your
school.
contemporaries, but they are there's a level there that
yeah.
you're closer to.
And to me, that's the biggest indication of the type of person that somebody is.
Right.
The way that they're treating a server, the way that they're treating somebody that is going to give them absolutely nothing for that interaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're really good at that.
There's a podcast there, right, on the history of like getting together all the old rappers from Edmonton, all the old B-boys.
Yeah.
I'd watch that.
Yeah.
I'd watch that. That's a story that I don't think has anybody told that story?
Arlo Maverick is the master of that. He's did a documentary on the Untouchable crew, which is the first b-boy crew ever, before the generation of brothers before
Okay, so I just
my
need to
big
watch.
brother.
I just need to watch that.
There is. I'm not saying there's a ton out there,
Right.
but Arlo Mav is for sure the guy that's doing that.
Right.
Because you're right, there is a rich history here.
For sure there is.
You've been here since 18. You talked about Nate. You've been here since then.
Yeah, so I spent a year and a half here and
Okay.
then moved away for roughly 5-6 years
Okay.
and then back here for the last 20.
Okay.
So I've almost been here longer than anywhere else.
Yeah. So this is home.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
What was the transition like? Was there a specific year or something, a job that happened that, okay, I'm not signed. We didn't get signed. We're making music for fun. It's great. It's all fun and games, but it's time to get the career on the road.
It was so in Saskatoon, because it was a small enough city, you could do both, right? Like I had buddies who had on the college radio station, they had a show. It was called the Great Rock and Roll Freak Show. And they would mostly play rock, but they would also let me come on and they'd give me 10 minutes. And so we'd go on, we'd rap on the radio. We'd do shows all the time.
Yeah.
You know, at this time, every computer had a CD burner, right? So you're burning your CDs and you're handing them out to everybody.
Classic.
Yeah, right. The wordsmiths happened, and we really tried to push that. And I mean, we got an article in the Village Voice.
Unreal.
Yeah, we were in a couple magazines. And I think had we all been in the same city, it would have been easier to just be like, all right, we're going to pursue this.
Right.
This is something we're going to do. But then Toronto came along and, you know, I was doing a morning show in Toronto. So how are you going to do any shows in Toronto? And I was only there for 3 months.
Yeah.
And then I came here and we were pregnant with our first kid. So all of a sudden that changes. And so everything just kind of shut down. It just sort of disappeared.
Right.
For years.
Right.
Until. Yeah.
And that has been, and we're talking
You
about
pulled me back in.
jingnjoc. Did I pull you back in or did you pull me back in? I feel like I heard a verse from you. I was like, shit, I got to rewrite.
Might have just been magnets slowly pulling together.
Yeah, it is a good vibe. And I think there's something to be said about chemistry between artists and things that verses and flows and styles that work together.
Yeah.
And we just did it for fun one day. I was like, shit,
It works.
that works. That's fucking dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been really nice. What has it been like for you to like, because I think we're making music from, I'm speaking for myself anyways, from a different place. It's
Totally. Completely.
It's not like I don't need the $200 for performing because I don't have a job. Like I'm a grown ass man and we've got lives and busy lives at that.
Yeah.
You're on TV every day of the week, Monday to Friday. You've got a set schedule. I run a business with Rowena, my wife and business partner. We both have kids. And now we've got this thing. Jingnjoc is like, it fills the soul. You know what I mean?
It really does. I can't explain how nice it is to be back to writing. And it's not like I'm grinding it out every night, we're not in the studio constantly.
No.
But something comes up. It's like, hey, all right. Hey, I like
Let's
this
make it
beat.
happen.
I like this beat. You got a verse for this? Yeah, sure. I can write a verse for this. You just go digging through the history books and try and find a verse.
Yeah. I'm not really I'm not writing too much these days, but I have been, surprisingly, that was one thing for me. The time, I was writing 3-4 verses a night, easily, making 3 beats a night, recording 1, sometimes 2 songs in a night, 6 or 7 nights a week. I did that for 5-6 years in the Dark Sun Tribe days. And that was one of my fears of mine. Is like, could I ever come back to music knowing that I'm not going to be that good? Like, I'm not going to be as good as when I was putting in those hours. I don't have those hours to put in right now. But I think I certainly see that with you.
I think you're better.
Thank you. I don't know if I am, but I feel better about writing for sure.
Yeah. No, I think you're better. I think maturity. I know I'm better.
Yeah. It's just
I wish I was, had the knowledge I have now when I was
that's it.
20.
Yeah. That's it. I think it's the lens and perspective and experience.
Yeah.
And it is kind of like riding a bike. You don't just forget how to rap. You know what I
No.
mean? Like all of those writing and skill sets that you spent the tens of thousands of hours perfecting are still there.
Yep.
You got to knock the dust off a little bit.
Sure.
For sure had to do that. I think you were more readily to do that because your switch is on. And I think it just, you're calling out 40 bar verses from memory on a dime.
But that's because when it just comes to you, then that next word is the only possible word that could come next.
For the new stuff, how much are you practicing? Are you like
Not at all.
not a lot? Like, are you running the verses in the car? Are you
Before I come here? Yes.
There's no way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's no way you come without reading it off your phone, having not rehearsed it.
Yeah. No. You have to rehearse.
Yeah. But not just in the car on the way.
No.
But you're not really rehearsing that
I'm not
much.
sitting on the deck with
That's
the
crazy.
speaker on
That's crazy
rapping in
because
the yard.
that's a real skill set. You come in, you're never reading your verse. Like you
It
come
sounds
in.
terrible if you're reading it, though.
That was one thing that I was really good at. I could write a verse and immediately record it, reading it.
Right.
Like
And
I
have
was
it sound
spitting it, well, like my flow would be like I was
see,
spitting it. I could do that,
It sounds too mechanical.
but I couldn't.
I need to know the ins and outs.
Oh, I get that. And the more you spit a verse 100 times, it's of course going to get better.
Yeah.
But I could never write a verse the night before, come in the next day and record and not
and
read
just
it.
know.
Yeah, you can do that. I think that's because of the it's a muscle that you flex having to speak off the top of your head somewhat on air every day. Do you think that maybe there's
maybe. I really just think it's because I don't rewrite verses all that much.
Yeah.
It comes out the way it comes out, and I mean,
Well, especially when you can just repeat
There's-
the last
there's-
line. You never have to remember the last line.
Right. I'll just repeat it and then move on to the next one.
Jing and Joc, baby. We should wrap this up. I mean, I could sit here and rap with you for hours, and we often do. You're one of my best homies. It's still, feel like I'm one of your family members getting annoyed on the street where we have to stop and and I have to take a picture of you with one of your fans. But it reminds me every time what a special person you are, like in this community, and what a community advocate you are. One of my top 5 rappers of all time, and
Which is crazy to say. It's just crazy. If I wasn't me and I was just like watching and was like,
You would agree.
That guy who does the weather,
Yes.
some guy is saying he's a top 5 rapper. Come on. It's super corny to a lot of people.
If
a
you
lot
don't
of people.
know, we about
But
to fucking show you.
That's why you have to be good at it.
Yes.
Like there's lots of weathermen who rap.
Who? Are there?
Go on YouTube.
No, there's not.
Oh yeah, there are.
Come on. You're one of a kind.
But they're not good.
Yeah,
They're doing it as a gimmick.
Right.
And that's the last thing I want to do. I like when I first started here in Edmonton, it was my boss was like, "Hey, you rap." I performed at like the very first Christmas party for CTV when I first started here, and he's like, "We should get you on the radio. You should rap the weather on the radio." And I'm like, "No, never, never. I like this and I like this, and these two shall never cross."
Good for you. Good for you to know.
It's cheesy.
To know that.
It's lame. They're two different things. They're two different parts of my personality.
Yeah. Yeah. But it would be easy to try to do that. I think you.
For sure. And try and capitalize on it.
For sure. Yeah. But it takes really being confident in yourself and knowing who you are. And those two very different hats that those don't mix, man.
Yeah.
Those don't, I'm not going to put those together, and
No.
I'm going to stay tried and true to these two things, and they can live, they can coexist on their own. But I 100% thought it was a gimmick too. I fell victim to it as well.
For sure. Everybody does.
Yeah. A lot of people, when we post now and there's comments on the social media,
always.
like, what?
I know.
Josh Classen? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And that's the same reaction I had, was like, yo, this guy's for real. And anybody who comments, I tell them, like, he's for real. He's legit.
He's a rapper. I was a rapper before I was the weather guy.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Blessing to be one half of Jing and Joc.
The better half of Jing and Joc.
The better half of Jing.
That's why he gets top billing on the name. It's not Joc and Jing, it's Jing and Joc.
Well, also because I was going for Joc and Jing, but it sounds like, what did you say? You're like,
you're Joc and Jing?
yeah, you're Joc and Jing. Like you like Jing, you're on Jing's Joc.
They know.
Yeah,
They know.
I don't think they do.
Yeah, that's nobody says that anymore.
I think a few old school rappers might know, but for the most part, I don't think people would get that.
Right. Jockin' is not slang anymore.
Yes, it is for us, old school, baby. So I think enough's enough. We should just jump in the
Let's go do it.
Get Shit Done booth.
Yep.
And give them a little taste of something that is unreleased, soon to be released. I think there's a few bangers in the banks, that a few things that we need to tweak and re-record and get some stuff out. But there are a few things out there on Spotify that live already under Jing and Joc. Check that out, streaming everywhere. all platforms available right now. Numbers. What are some? We've done some bangers for
Ice Cream.
for Robbie as well. Ice Cream's not even out yet.
What?
Yeah. We need to shoot some videos.
I know
this
there's a
summer.
lot. We've done quite a few songs that just don't really live anywhere.
No, but
Except
they will.
on my phone.
But I think we know that we know what we need to tweak, so they're not ready. They're not ready to just go out the way they are, because I think when they go out, we know the level that it's got to be at,
Right.
and they're already bangers. So we're gonna shoot some videos for those soon and get them out.
Okay, good.
But here's a little.
How many years have we been saying we need to do an album?
Yeah, we
have enough for an album.
six cuts, something like that, ready.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
The albums don't exist anymore.
No, we can drop some singles, but I think we should actually do an album. I think we should strategically and thoughtfully place those songs together like they used to in the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
Where the
Consistent concept
where there's a theme
woven through all of it.
and song number 3 is song number 3 for a fucking reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We wanted you to hear that third
Yeah.
in the lineup. Not on shuffle, not a bunch of singles shuffled in. There's a reason you're hearing that third in the lineup.
Nobody's going to listen to it that way.
You're such, in so many ways, you're such a pessimist.
I'm a realist.
You're a pessimist like our COVID song.
I listen to albums front to back. You listen to albums front to back. My kids don't listen to albums. Nobody.
Tell them about that time we had like a hype up meeting with 8 artists in the room. We did this COVID song together and this video, which we shot and edited like a month later. And everyone's hyped on the release and blah, blah, blah. And we're talking about all of this stuff for like an hour and a half, shooting the shit. And Josh ends with, do you think we're too late for this song? It's been like 6 months of COVID. It's probably over. Do you think we're a little too late for this song?
We needed to do this 3 months ago. And here we are, still talking about COVID.
I love you. My brother from another mother. I appreciate you being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Let's rock the mic.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
You ain't 5'9". Let me adjust this mic.
Yeah, bring it up.
Yeah, I be the 1-2-stepper, the microphone checker, Mr. Murder Tracks on wax, straight to record. Respect on my name, baby Jane won't let up. Step inside the ring, no salt or pepper. The one go getter, the one do it better. Etc.
Come on, man. Ease up on them. They can't handle the heat. They freeze up on them.
How they call him the Mac? Ain't no cheese up on him. My pocket's so fat, got the grease up on him. The king is here, Egyptian sheets up on him. I slay 808.
Jing beats up on them.
You wanna know how we do what we do? Just count to 3, 4, and maybe you could do 1, 2. Da 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 da. You wanna know how to make a move? Just count to 3, 4, and maybe you could make 1, 2. Da 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 da.
Floating on a stream of consciousness. Josh is just brimming over with confidence. Insomniac spits, it's obvious. You could take an Ativan and still be up all night rocking to this. The top optimist, minus silver linings. So miss me with that sad sobbiness. I see the sunshine. I was born at third base and I realize it. I'm trying to bring the whole world up where I am. I bubbled up from the middle, had a little bit famous. People knew my name, and that was that. Recognition ain't the same as fingers in the bank, so I had to put the train on a different track. New tactics for living in a different tax bracket. I ain't trying to reside in a mansion. This ain't a vision of getting rich and then living back. It's a mission to make $1 million and give it back.
You wanna know how we do what we do? Just count to 3, 4, and maybe you could do 1, 2. Da 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 da. You wanna know how to make a move? Just count to 3, 4, and maybe you could make 1, 2. Da 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 da. You wanna know how we do what we do? Just count to 3, 4, and maybe you could do 1, 2. Da 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 da.
That's such a banger, bro.